Thanks for your company this morning. More now on that big breaking news. France sending its ambassador back to Australia after that row over nuclear subs. Let's discuss with Tasmanian Senator Jackie Lambie and 2GB's Chris Smith. Jackie, this is a huge development this morning. Do you reckon this means that all is forgiven?
Oh, well, you know, I thought we'd just let him have a holiday for a couple of weeks, mate, before we brought him back again. So, look, I think it's a very good start, and that's great that he's coming back to Australia, and it will certainly be a start of mending that relationship. There's no doubt about that.
Chris, we still don't know, though, how much this failed deal has cost.
No, it certainly cost us diplomatically, but isn't it a funny diplomatic game where they take someone out of the country and then 3 weeks later, they don't even have to unpack their bag. They're straight back in the country again. Look, the French have to understand this is not about necessarily different subs. It's about when the you-know-what hits the fan in the Indo-Pacific, who's going to come and help us? It's not the French, it's UK and the United States. Yeah,
well, I think we should all have snails for lunch to celebrate this one. And you could be soon in New South Wales because, of course, the timing couldn't be better for Dominic Perrottet in his first full day in the job as New South Wales Premier, achieving that magical 70% double dose mark last night and confirming Monday as Freedom Day. Chris, I don't know about you, I felt a little sad that it wasn't Gladys delivering us that news yesterday. She got the state to this point. Do you reckon Dom will go harder with freedoms?
Oh, yeah, without doubt. He was the one within Crisis Cabinet that was pushing a lot of measures that were not accepted by the Chief Health Officer and also the Premier, and he was quite angry about the partial closure of construction. And even in the last 24 hours, he's talking about maybe going to visit, relatives on Sunday, just before Monday. That's being up in the air. You can guarantee one thing, under his stewardship, there will be no more cross-metro lockdowns in the state of New South Wales.
Yeah. Jackie, what do you make of him? Because, look, he's a true Conservative. He's anti-abortion, he's anti-gay marriage, he's a big supporter of Donald Trump. They are things that don't sit too well with everyone. Do you like him?
I actually don't. I don't know him in person. I've never met him. The focus has been on Gladys. So, he's got a fresh start. We are coming out of COVID. So his economic skills are really going to be put to the test. So, good on him. He's young. I hope he does really well. I don't really know what else to say, to be honest with you, but I will say this about the Sydney-siders. They would like to at least be outside on a Sunday so they can catch up with their family and at least have a picnic and barbecues. So, and they're saying to me, what's the difference between Monday morning and Sunday afternoon? So I guess people sort of tasting that freedom before the weekend's actually over.
Yeah, so you reckon, Jackie, go early? Why not today?
Well, I don't know why not today, but especially let them out in the fresh air. Apparently, to catch COVID out in the fresh air is very limited. Get them out there, their mental health, get them out there, let them have the weekend with their family barbecues and things like that.
Ali, I have a feeling that people have allowed themselves to get off the leash already this week. Yeah. If you talk to traffic reporters, I was in a car this morning, the traffic was heavy in Sydney. I've never seen it that way. I reckon close is close enough.
Yep, freedom's already come, you reckon. Hey, let's go back to this issue, though, of Dom. Do you like him, Chris? What do you reckon? What kind of Premier do you think he'll make?
Well, he fires from the hip, so he's got to probably, pare that back a lot. He's got to have a lot of patience. He's got to make sure that he doesn't react to media pressure, because the decisions that you make under media pressure are sometimes the wrong ones. And I think what he's probably got to do is go with his gut feeling. And I know his gut. I know what you're talking about in terms of arch-conservative, etc. There's a lot of evidence to say he is. But he, not Gladys Berejiklian, is prepared for his MPs to have a conscience vote on assisted dying legislation. That is a big leap forward, and New South Wales is behind the other states and territories on this.
I mean, you're right. That is a great point you raised there. I think his other issue, though, is, and like we saw yesterday, did you see those pictures outside Gladys's office? All the flowers, the messages of support, gifts. I mean, women in particular really liked Gladys. And Chris, considering what his personal views are in regards to a whole lot of issues, as we just discussed, how does he then bring those voters over to him?
Yeah, well, he's got to show by actions that he's not dictated to by his own arch-conservative views, and that will be. We'll see that in time. We'll probably see that in the first 18 months. But right now, I think he's got to be given the benefit of the doubt. But you talk about Gladys here. I know where we want to move on and we want to see what's around the corner and what happens Monday, but boy, oh boy, the people of New South Wales, and women in particular, you're spot on, are still grief-stricken by this, and that's not an overstatement. They are grief-stricken.
Look, I agree. And, you know, talking to a whole bunch of my mates over the past week, even people who support the Greens and are Labor supporters who love Gladys and have hated the way that this has played out. And look, we look then and compare New South Wales to Victoria, where Gladys is preparing to face this corruption inquiry. The contrast with the Victorian Premier, Daniel Andrews, he's also embroiled in this anti-corruption inquiry. At this point, it doesn't seem as serious and hasn't reached that point. But yesterday he said he has no intention of standing aside. Jackie, do you think, you know, with him refusing to do a Gladys, did she jump too soon?
Well, I have to ask why she jumped. She has nothing to hide. Why didn't she just write it out and walk through it? So I'm just... Look, I don't know what's going to happen to Gladys. I didn't want Gladys either. Look, I was part of that Senate inquiry into the firefighting unions and the CFA, and I can tell you something now, right from what I've seen when I participated in it, and there was quite a few days of it, something is filthy in that area. I can tell you right now. I'm surprised it's taken this long. 3 or 4 years later, after that initial inquiry in the Senate, might even be nearly 5 years, that it's finally something is coming to fruition. Something stuck during that inquiry, I can tell you now.
Well, he's standing his ground, Jackie.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether how much Daniel Andrews played into that or what happened, but something is wrong with what happened with the firefighters union and the CFA, I can tell you now.
Chris, what do you make of these powers that these corruption watchdogs have? I mean, like in an example like this with Daniel Andrews, maybe he's done absolutely nothing wrong, but when you just use the word corruption watchdog and connect his name to it, there is this assumption of guilt.
Yeah, this is the whole problem in setting up anti-corruption bodies and going ahead and revealing things and having items leaked, as occurred this week in the Age newspaper. All of a sudden, more people are gathered into this guilt by association trip. Like the whole, you know, the interesting thing is ICAC in Hong Kong was the model Australia has used time and time again to create their own state-based anti-corruption bodies. Well, they don't hold public hearings. They don't make this, you know, create this dust storm where you've got this lather of dust over someone and everyone thinks they're partially guilty. They wait until they have enough evidence from those private hearings before they can go to the DPP and take action in a court of law where all the bad stuff can be rolled out and everyone can hear it, not beforehand when there's clearly not enough evidence to act.
I mean, what a travesty it will be. Yeah, Jackie?
Sorry, I have to say, politicians have brought this on themselves with these corruption ICACs or whatever they are, because I can tell you now, most Australians don't trust them. And you can see why. Car park frauds, sport frauds, and the list keeps going on and on and on. They are supposed to be the most well-respected people at the top of their game in Australia, and they are far from it. I can tell you that from being right in the middle of it. And quite frankly, I think these ICACs and having police on the beat in Parliament that has actually got to that is a disgrace in itself. But that is where we are in the 21st century, and politicians have brought it on themselves.
But the record of ICAC and other bodies is not great in terms of being able to prove what they alleged in these hearings. Yeah,
look, I think you need a corruption watchdog, guys, but I'm not sure the model is perfect. Just quickly before we go, Chris, come Monday, you're going to be as free as Jackie and Tassie there. What's the first thing you're going to do?
I booked for a haircut at 8:30 in the morning. 8:30 in the morning, I'm first in the door. How good's that? And then I've got a lunch plan.
At least you've still got your hair. At least you've still got your hair.
Thank you very much. And then I've got a lunch plan, but you've got to be very quiet about it. And then maybe a couple of meetings in the afternoon.
All right. Okay. Good stuff. Enjoy.
A couple of meetings after lunch.
Meetings. Whatevs.
Shorts and thong meetings.
Sounds